Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into the UK's constantly shifting business landscape. We're going to unpack everything from how a 500-year-old company managed an incredible turnaround to the big economic pressures that are affecting, well, pretty much everyone. The goal here is to distill the key lessons and strategies you can actually use in your business starting today.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with an amazing comeback story from Royal Mail. Then we'll zoom out to get a handle on the UK's economic headwinds. After that, it's all about getting practical with new regulations and a smart way to think about pay, before we wrap it all up with a toolkit to help fuel your own growth.
So first up, how on earth does a 500-year-old institution even survive in the 21st century, let alone thrive? We're diving into Royal Mail's massive reinvention to see what it can teach all of us about navigating some pretty immense market pressure.
I mean, just look at this turnaround. Royal Mail went from a staggering £336 million loss to a £12 million profit in a single year. That's not just tweaking the numbers, is it? That is a clear sign of a fundamental, probably painful, but ultimately successful strategic overhaul.
So the big question is, how'd they do it? Well, their playbook really offers some solid lessons for any business. They pivoted hard into growth areas like parcels, they streamlined their super costly operations, and they even innovated with things like solar-powered postboxes. It's really a masterclass in making those tough calls, not just to survive, but to actually build for the future.
But no business is an island. Royal Mail's turnaround happened against a backdrop of some serious economic headwinds, and honestly, those headwinds are affecting everyone right now.
This number right here, 5.72%, is really at the heart of the UK's economic squeeze. I know, it might just look like a percentage, but it's the highest government borrowing cost in a generation. Think of it like this. It's as if the interest rates on the national credit card suddenly spiked, putting immense pressure on all public spending.
So what even are these gilts? Well, essentially they're just loans to the government, an IOU. And a higher yield is just like a higher interest rate on that loan. The more the government has to spend just paying interest on its debt, well, the less it has for public services, tax cuts, or pretty much anything else.
And all of that leads to the Chancellor's massive challenge. He's got to find somewhere between 18 and 28 billion pounds just to balance the books. With that little room to maneuver, pretty much every business in the country is waiting to see where those cuts or new taxes are going to fall.
Now, while nothing's set in stone, these are the kinds of measures that are reportedly being talked about. You really want to watch out for these so-called stealth taxes, like freezing income tax thresholds. That's a move that quietly pulls more and more people into higher tax brackets as their wages rise with inflation.
But it's not just about finding money, it's also about growing the entire economic pie. And that's exactly why the government has brought in a top economist, Professor Van Reenen. His whole mission is to help crack the UK's long-standing productivity puzzle and really drive some growth.
Okay, so let's bring all this down from the 30,000-foot view right to your desk. There are new regulations coming down the pipeline, and these are the deadlines and details you really need to be acting on now. Think of this timeline as your first warning shot. Yeah, June 2026 might feel like it's a long way off, but the groundwork is being laid right now. This requirement for a formal data complaint process is going to affect every single organization, so the planning really needs to start. And here's what that process actually looks like in practice. Basically, you have 30 days to acknowledge a complaint, you have to act on it promptly, and then you have to let the person know the outcome. The key here is formalizing this process now so you can avoid some major headaches down the road. At the same time, there's another 2026 deadline looming, the business rates revaluation. The advice here is really simple. Sign up for a valuation account today. It lets you check the data that's being used, and it gives you the earliest possible warning if your bill is about to change.
Okay, we've talked a lot about external pressures, so let's shift gears and focus on a crucial internal one, pay. Way too often, it's just seen as a cost on a spreadsheet. But what if it's actually your most powerful tool for a competitive advantage?
Just take a look at Aldi. They are not just complying with the national living wage, they are deliberately setting a benchmark well above it. And that's not by accident. It's a calculated strategy to attract and keep the very best people in a really fierce retail market.
So what's the return on that investment in paying more? Well, the benefits are pretty concrete. You spend way less time and money recruiting because your top talent actually stays. Your team is more motivated, which boosts productivity. It's an investment in your people that really does pay dividends across the entire business. So how do we pull all of these different threads together?
let's equip you with a practical resource, and then lock in the key takeaways from everything we've just covered.
If you're trying to navigate the very complex world of funding, here is a practical next step. Business Finance Week is a whole series of free events from the British Business Bank, and it's designed specifically to help SMEs, just like yours, find the support they need to grow.
You know, when you look at everything, from Royal Mail's reinvention to all the new rules on the horizon, one powerful theme just keeps popping up, and it's this: proactive adaptation. In today's market, just waiting to react, well, that's a failing strategy.
So, we'll leave you with this question to take back to your own business. As you face all these challenges and opportunities, are you actively building for the future, or are you just clinging to a model whose time might have already passed? Honestly, your answer to that is going to define what comes next.